Welcome back to Barn Find Aerospace. Way back a bunch of episodes ago, we hauled the right wing out of the chicken coop and into the barn, where we've been working on it ever since. One job after another. Some of them we had to do over, some of them more than once. And every time we thought we were almost done...
One more thing. One other thing, Mrs. Halburn. There's one more thing, sir. Just one more thing, please. One more thing, sir. One other thing.
One of the one other things happened here, where the aileron meets up with the wing. This cove cover is a piece of sheet metal that closes up the back side of the wing. It's got this curved part, and these two bends. So we'll start off by cutting the sheet metal to size. Then we'll use the press brake to put in our bends. Pops does have a manual finger brake, but this hydraulical kind is real handy when you gotta make a whole bunch of the exact same bend angle. Here's how you line it up to make sure the bend goes where you want it, because bending is another one of those things that isn't so easy to undo. It never hurts to check it one more time, or two, or three. Now it's time to get the curve in. One way is to wrap it around a piece of plumbing pipe, but that didn't get quite enough of a curve, so it's off to the slip roller. This will give you all the curve you want and then some, so best start out easy. There now, that's a pretty good fit. So clip it in place, drill the rivet holes, cleco in as we go. Then we're going to need rivet holes in the top skin and the bottom skin. Now we got to pull that skin off to deburr and dimple all the holes. Y'all probably seen enough of us rivet and stuff, so we'll take care of that off camera. A couple episodes back, we went to visit the metal wizard and make the trailing edge stiffeners. Installing these was another round of drilling, deburring, dimpling, and riveting that we'll just kind of breeze on by. But now the one more things were all done, so it's time to take the right wing off the rotisserie and stash it out of the way. Uncle Ray was hanging around the barn that day, so we had 2 extra hands and 2 extra brains to help with the job. Pop stepped in to lend a hand, and Uncle Eric had left us this wing storage rack, so it was kind of an extended barn find family deal. Then it was back out to the chicken coop, where this whole thing started off in the first place. Dad and mechanical daughter went in and dragged the right wing out, while Pops managed the gate and the horses. And then on into the wing and up onto the wing rack, so we can start in and do all the things we did on the right wing all over again. Here's another flashback from way back in the olden time episodes. Dad working on the seat frames. And equestrian daughter sit testing different kinds of saddle pads in our high-tech aviation seat testing facility. When the frames were done, we took them to this little yellow barn where a fella named Kelly does seat upholstery for cars and boats and planes. Here he is sewing our seats together. We told him we wanted them to look like the seats from a 1968 pickup truck, and he pretty much nailed it. You don't want your airplane seats bursting into flames, so Kelly made sure to pick out fabrics that are fire rated. We got to keep track of things like that for the FAA. Back home, equestrian daughter brought in her new little friend Presley, the king of rock and roll, for the final sit testing.
So what do you think of, how's the sit test? great.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, and then the saddle pads, I gotta admit.
First thing on the left wing was getting the skins off. Pops had them temporarily on there with pop rivets, and to get pop rivets out, you gotta punch out the middle and then drill them out. There was an impressive amount of barn dust had built up inside over the years. Another thing that happens when you leave aluminum sheet in a barn for 10 or 15 years, the plastic film it comes wrapped in gets all stubborn and doesn't want to come off. On the other wing, we tried a heat gun, but that just made a mess. So we had to ask Strax how to get rid of it.
We'll melt him with acid.
Turns out this stuff is the best kind of melting acid. It says aircraft on it, so yeah, it costs twice as much. Here's what it looks like when you first glob it on. After you let it sit a while, you can tell there's been some melting and blistering going on. But it looks like it's still a little stubborn yet, so we'll let it sit and melt a little longer. Now it's more cooperative. That's about as much melty acid action as we need, so gotta wash it off real good. Here's another flashback you might remember. That's right, we got all these holes that have to be deburred and dimpled before we can start riveting. We did find out there's a quicker way to deburr the holes than this old-fashioned twisty thing. This drill-powered deburring tool works real good. After the holes are deburred, you gotta dimple them because we're using flush rivets on the skin. Here's Dad deburring and dimpling a whole bunch of them. Dimpling holes way out in the middle of a skin is kind of a teamwork job because these big sheets are so awkward to handle. Last time through, we didn't get to film this job because we already had the wing skins riveted on and it was pert near impossible to see what we were doing, let alone film it. But we learned our lesson, and this time we installed these nut plates for the fuel tank straps before riveting the skins in the way. If you need an odd length rivet, you start out with this extra long one and trim it down to size. There are 16 of these nut plates to strap the fuel tanks in, so you can probably imagine the amount of potty language required to get this done the first time, when this was all in a tiny little space all enclosed. Another consequence of sitting in the chicken coop for years, these brackets for the aileron and flap mechanisms collected some surface rust. So Dad pulled them out and threw them in the bead blaster, where rust and paint peels away like magic. Rust treatments are yet another great way to start a social media flame war, but we've had good luck with this stuff. You just brush it on, let it dry, then prime and paint and reinstall with the aircraft grade hardware. Torque them to spec and then smear the nuts with the orange goo that tells us, yeah, we did remember to torque this. Then there was making the fuel tank vent lines and putting them in along with the electrical wiring conduit, then stuffing the wires in there. All that stuff's done now, so we're back to riveting. I'm on.
I'm on.
It does seem like things are going a little smoother the second time around now that we know what we're doing. I'm on. At least that's what we're telling ourselves.
I'm on.
So hopefully we can get this left wing riveted all together and get on to the next step, the fuselage.